Thanks for staying with We FM 106.3. The time's now 7 minutes past 3 o'clock. If you are just joining us, you're welcome. You're listening to Frankly Speaking. My name's Camry. Right, on Fridays, the second hour, we usually turn our attention to legislative matters. All of this in the hope of, again, deepening our understanding of the legislative arm of government. Now, in a democracy, Parliament is our interface into governance. You know, we keep going on about the dividends of democracy and so on and so forth. Well, until we understand the system of government we operate, until we do what is expected of us, until we demand those we give an opportunity to serve us, until we demand the best from them, the dividends of democracy, I'm afraid, will elude us. So this program is aimed at deepening our understanding. It's also a platform where we'll bring you up close and personal with your legislators as we go along, so we can talk about solid national issues right here in the studio. Right. Last week, I started by talking about some legislators to watch out for with some quick backgrounds. All of this as was compiled by Order Paper. I usually present the show with the publisher of our Order Paper, OK. Mr. OK Epia, but he's unavoidably absent. He's away on, again, parliamentary responsibilities. So I will push it alone this week. So I started by bringing you once again the legislators to watch out for. We brought you the first part. I will bring you the concluding part. And on other matters at the National Assembly, since security seems to be topmost of our discussions these past few weeks in the country, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has looked at the Constitution and he had a couple of things to say regarding ensuring security. He's looking towards the traditional institutions in the country. So I'll bring you his position on that as well. All right, so now back to the list. Again, these are legislators to watch out for this year. Very, very interesting. And the publication says that it is a difficult task. Clearly, it's a difficult task to pick 15 people out of 360 members of the House of Representatives. It is extremely challenging. And they observe that in spite of the continuing effects of COVID-19 on governance, the National Assembly has several legislative landmarks that they must deliver this year. That's 2021. Now, I don't know how their activities will be affected with the advent of the vaccine. There's still a couple of questions in that regard. I also got questions as well. Hoping to get those questions answered next week, live on air. But with the advent of the vaccine, we don't know how this is going to impact on their duties, but deliver they must. You know, they must carry out their duties, and there's quite a bit to be done this year. This year, already, the Ninth Assembly has set 2021 as the year to pass the Petroleum Industry Bill. This is a bill, a bit of legislation that we've had for far too long. No assembly has been able to completely do it. But now, I think with the change in strategy, we might see more progress. Remember, it was broken up into bits. The Petroleum Industry Governance Bill passed. So bit by bit, we are moving along. So the Ninth Assembly is saying, look, we're going to be done with this thing this year. They also need to deal with the state of the economy, the threat of security, and so on and so forth. And that's a challenge before the legislature this year. Now, Order Paper once again says that these are the legislators to watch this year. So I continue. Honorable Akin Alabi, he's a member of the All Progressives Congress, representing Egbeda and Onaya Ara Federal Constituency of Oyo State. Now, according to the paper, this internet-savvy member makes more contributions on social media than he does on the floor of the House. In 2007, his comment on the 37 billion naira National Assembly renovation budget, that caused quite a stir when he wrongly claims that the item was not brought to the House for deliberation. His recent facilitation of healthcare to his constituency generated a lot of controversy on Twitter. Now, being one of the most active lawmakers in social media, they say that Honorable Akin Alabi will be one to watch this year. Next is Honorable Kingsley Chinda. He's a member of the People's Democratic Party, a member representing Obio Akpo Federal Constituency of Rivers State. Now, according to the publication, Honorable Chinda has been on the sideline since he lost out on his bid for the position of Minority Leader of the House in 2019. Analysts claimed that the inability of the incumbent Minority Leader, that's Honorable Elumelu, we talked about him last week. Analysts say that his inability, that's Honorable Elumelu's inability to lead the charge against the ruling party, this has left the door wide open for Honorable Chinda to prove his mettle. Onlookers say that he has given very good account of himself in that regard, incidentally. So, will 2020 provide more issues for Honorable Chinda to challenge the ruling party as the leader of the PDP caucus? Well, we watch, only time will tell. The next one is Honorable Idris Wase. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress, member representing Wase Federal Constituency of Plateau State. Now, Honorable Wase is the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, and being the chairman of the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments in 2021 is going to be a very busy year for him. Here's the thing, his committee has the responsibility of guiding bills like local government autonomy, bills like the 35% affirmative action, and other constitutional alteration bills already in the House. All these are the responsibility of his committee, the Constitutional Amendment Committee. Additionally, due to the pandemic, several bills are waiting. They're still waiting for the Committee of the Whole, where the Deputy Speaker also serves as the chairman. So this is a man whose plate is full. And there is expected to be a strong push for those bills, all right, to be considered. That's the several bills that are waiting at the Committee of the Whole. There's expected to be a strong push for them to be considered. That means he's going to be burning the candle at both ends, is the Deputy Speaker. Now, Honorable Wase is known for his intolerance of long debates, unlike the Speaker, who they say is known to indulge members to have their say. So he's not one to just sit back and just let you go on and on and on about this, that, the other. More like a, straight to the point kind of person. Now, in October 2020, one Honorable Shino Pella had a public spat with the Deputy Speaker, that's Honorable Wase, during plenary. The Deputy Speaker presided over the session that did not recognize Honorable Pella, which Honorable Pella says denied him the chance to speak on the End SARS protest. That's what it was about. Remember, this was October 2020. So the question is, how will Honorable Wase's leadership style affect the constitutional process? So we're going to be watching and waiting on that one. Remember, he chairs the Constitution Review, Constitution Amendment Committee in the House. And he's not one for, long-winded debates and this, that, the other. So how's that going to play out? Well, we will watch and see. The next is Honorable Yusuf Gagdi. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress representing Pangshin, Kanke and Kanam Federal Constituency of Plateau State. He's a former Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly. So people from that neck of the woods very familiar with the name, very familiar with his style. And he's a first-timer at the National Assembly. He's a first-timer who has made quite the name for himself on the floor of the House. When critical issues are being debated on the floor, Honorable Gagdi usually gets the nod from the Speaker to make his contribution to speak. I think that's quite a thing. Now, our order paper says that he's likely to enjoy this sort of recognition given the fact that he has quite a number of bills to his name. So you will hear quite a bit of his voice. His members, colleagues in the House certainly will, due to that fact that he's got lots of bills. So more achievements, again, are expected from Honorable Gagdi this year. He's APC representing Pangshin, Kanke and Kanam federal constituencies of Plateau State. Next is Honorable Oluwole Oke. He's a member of the People's Democratic Party representing Obokun Oriade federal constituency of Osun State. Now, Honorable Oke, he's the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee and has been quite busy. He's been very, very busy turning over rocks, from the get-go of the 9th Assembly. His committee has been probing almost all the ministries, departments, and agencies, and he's been summoning the heads of those ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, his committee is expected to attract quite a lot of attention due to his history in the House. In 2019, for example, during the investigation of the pension funds, Honourable Johnson Abonyima, the chairman of the ad hoc committee investigating the matter, he stepped aside. He stepped aside and accused Honourable Oluwole Oke of allegedly working with the regulatory body, being investigated, and collecting a bribe. Also, in 2016, Honourable Abdul Mumin Jibrin accused Honourable Oke of being complicit in the alleged Dasuki arms deal corruption matter. So there's been quite a lot of controversy around this name, but now he's the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and it means he's going to be busy looking into this, that, the other. Another person, they say to watch out for is Honourable James Faleke, no stranger to those who follow parliamentary and government matters. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress representing Ikeja Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Now, Honourable Faleke, interesting character. All the papers says that ordinarily attention in the House is usually on the chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations. But it seems that the chairman of the House Committee on Finance, that's Honourable James Faleke, has appropriated some powers and influence to himself in the Ninth House. The broad powers of the House Committee on Finance, particularly its power to oversight the monitoring and enforcing the implementation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, all this means it is involved in the budget process from start to finish. Now, through the oversight on the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the committee, House Committee on Finance, works on the medium-term expenditure framework as well. Furthermore, the Finance Committee also has the power to oversight the ministry responsible for finance and its parastatals, except for those assigned to other committees. All of this according to Order 18, Rule 41, Part 2A of the House Standing Rules. Honourable Faleke's clash, for example, last year with the Minister of Labour, Employment and Productivity, that's Chris Ngige, his clash with the minister points to a man not scared to pick a fight, pick battles and so on. And with the numerous probes his committee is conducting, you can expect to hear more from Honourable James Faleke this year. Right, moving on. The next person they say to watch out for is Honourable Alhassan Ado Doguwa. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress representing Doguwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency of Kano State. Now, they say that the tradition of ascending speakership through House Majority Leader position, it's another tradition that parliamentarians in Nigeria are trying to adopt from the American system. Both Honourable Femi Gbajabiamila and Senator Ahmed Lawan emerged as Speaker and Senate President respectively after serving as Majority Leader in their respective chambers in the previous assembly, that's the 8th Assembly. Now, while 2023 is still a couple of years off, Honourable Doguwa, who may not have the charisma or the oratory powers of Speaker Gbajabiamila, he will try to use 2021 to cement his footing in the House. This, according to the publication. Honourable Ado Doguwa is one of the longest-serving members of the House. He was in the House in the Third Republic, and he has been in the House since 2003. So 2021 will be a year to watch out for him. Interesting point about Honourable Doguwa. He's the one that showed up with his 4 wives, and I think he's got 27 kids, is it? To the National Assembly. Right, another person that the publication says bears watching come 2021 is Honourable Nkeruka Onyejocha. She's a member of the All Progressives Congress representing Isukwato Omonochi Federal Constituency of Abia State. before swapping the umbrella of the People's Democratic Party for the broom of the All Progressives Congress, Honourable Onyejocha was part of the trio of Honourable Nnenna Elendu and Betty Apiafi, who, quote-unquote, led the opposition at the time when the former majority leader, that's Leo Ogo, was sick. Betty Apiafi, we know now, is a senator, and Honourable Nnenna Elendu Ukeje did not get re-elected. So, Honourable Onyejocha is currently, she is the deputy whip. And the thing is this, her position is unique because don't forget she's switched parties 2019. She's a deputy whip, and the publication says that she can't criticize her party having just joined them before the 2019 general elections. So the publication says as a result of this, some say she no longer has the command that she used to have. Constitutional amendment is on the front burner this year, and affirmative action as well. Affirmative action failed in the 8th Assembly. It's back in the House now. So, Honourable Onyejocha is one of the most ranking officers in the House, and she will have the responsibility of leading the charge for the passage of the bills. Will she find a voice again? Well, only time will tell. We watch. And another person to watch is Honourable Henry Nwawoba. Honourable Henry Nwawoba is from the People's Democratic Party. He's the member representing Ikeduru Mbatoli Federal Constituency of Imo State. Now, the House legislative agenda is what's known as the blueprint or the framework of the Ninth House. And it's the framework the Ninth House of Assembly uses in delivering its promise to Nigerians, according to Speaker Gbajabiamila. So, in September 2020, Speaker Gbajabiamila appointed Honourable Nwawoba as the chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Legislative Agenda. And in the speech announcing the appointment, the Speaker said, and I quote, "This Ad Hoc Committee will work with the committees on rules and business to ensure that bills brought forward for consideration align with our agenda." End quote. So this committee again determines the priorities of the House. Things like which bill should be considered first, which motion should get the legislative hours, and so on and so forth. And the burden of these decisions rests with Honourable Nwawoba. So he will be one to watch this year. It's quite a bit of legislation to be done. And finally, on the list of legislators, reps members to watch this year, is Honourable Toby Okechukwu. He's the member of the People's Democratic Party representing Aninri, Agu and Oji River Federal Constituency of Enugu State. So, Honourable Okechukwu is the Deputy Minority Leader of the House, and he has been, perhaps, one of the strongest voices on the minority leadership bench. The People's Democratic Party, as they are right now, they've seen quite a few defections recently. So the party will be hoping to patch up and mount opposition against the ruling party. On the minority leadership bench, much will be expected from Honourable Toby Okechukwu. Right, so that's the comprehensive list there. This is the second part of a list we started last week on the programme. Again, the list was 15 reps to watch out for in 2021. It's a list that's been compiled by Order Paper. All right, we'll take a very, very quick break. And when Frankly Speaking returns, we'll talk about some other notable things right here in our nation's National Assembly. All of this when Frankly Speaking returns. Stay with us. Are you interested in progressive, solution-driven discussion? Does the future of our dear country give you cause for concern? Want to know what governance is and how it works? If your answer is yes, 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 then you're in the right place. Don't miss Frankly Speaking every weekday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Nations aren't built overnight. It takes the commitment and dedication of many women and men from generation to generation to get the job done. We'll talk about governance for the people.
If Jonathan should lay down a foundation and build on that foundation, there's nothing wrong with it.
We'll talk politics,
when we are talking, it is not about PDP, it's not about APC, it's about Nigeria.
It doesn't matter the political party in power. It's for the benefit of Nigerian people.
To fix Nigeria, you have to also fix the politics of Nigeria.
Infrastructure.
How do you measure the yardstick of development in the country? Over 3,000 white elephant projects that were abandoned by previous past administration in this country.
Join me, Camry Apollo, on Frankly Speaking, so that together we can move our country forward.
Those of you behind microphones, don't leave us alone. Don't attack us, but continue providing solutions, because we interact with people on a daily basis.
God bless Nigeria. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria indeed. Right, thanks for staying with We FM 106.3. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. You're listening to Frankly Speaking. My name's Camry. This is the second part of our legislative hour. I just concluded a list which we started last week, a list from an order paper telling us about 15 members of the House of Representatives to watch this 2021. Last week, the names we mentioned were Honorable Ahmed Jaha. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress, representing Chibok, Damboa and Goza Federal Constituency of Borno State. We also talked last week about Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, member of the All Progressives Congress, representing Surulere Constituency, Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Another person to watch out for we talked about last week was Honorable Aisha Dukku. She's a member of the All Progressives Congress, representing Dukku Nafada, Federal Constituency of Gombe State. Also, Honorable Undudi Lumelu is a member of the People's Democratic Party, representing Anyocha Oshimili Federal Constituency of Delta State. And Honorable Mohammed Mangono, member of the All Progressives Congress, representing Mangono, Marte and Nganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Those are the ones we talked about yesterday. All right, let's catch up now with notable events in the National Assembly. Yesterday, while he was declaring open a meeting between the Constitution Review Committee and the National Council of Traditional Rulers right here in Abuja, the President of the Senate, that's Senator Ahmed Lawan, said that we need to make certain alterations in the Constitution to improve our security. He zeroed in specifically on the traditional institutions. Now, please remember that the Constitution Review Committee in the Senate, it's led by the Deputy Senate President, just like in the House of Reps, it's by the Deputy Speaker. Deputy President of the Senate is Senator Ovie Omo Agege. Right, while declaring that open, the President of the Senate said, "I'm here to show the commitment of the National Assembly in its entirety to listening and supporting our royal fathers on the constitutional review currently going on, and in what many of us believe that is the right thing, that we have our royal fathers properly and formally given some roles in the governance structure or the administration of our country. The pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial history of our royal fathers gives us indication of how important our traditional institution was in those days. In fact, at the risk of going into some avoidable history, in 1947, the British created a single traditional institution for the Tivs by creating the title of Tortiv. This was because they knew that the traditional institutions were playing very critical and crucial roles in running the affairs of those they governed. Probably the 1979 Constitution had envisaged specific functions for the traditional institutions, but I think we missed it after that. And maybe the 1999 Constitution did not take account of certain things that could have been helpful. Maybe before the 1976 local government reforms, the traditional institutions might have played some roles in ensuring that our communities were secured and safe. Right, that's the President of the Senate there, Senator Ahmed Lawan, making a case for the traditional institutions in the country, saying we need to have a formal role for them in governance, a role that is covered in the Constitution. I'll open up the phone lines to hear your take. Do you think Nigerian governance can improve by formally appointing roles to the traditional institution? That's the big question. We'd like to hear your take. You can call it up on 0817 687 2132. Again, 0817 687 2132. You can also call 0817 687 2134. Don't forget, you can always WhatsApp us. You can send us a WhatsApp on 0905 353 5305. Once again, 0905 353 5305. So, do you think governance in Nigeria can improve with us formally including the traditional institutions in governance? And if so, what role do you think should be given formally? All right, constitutionally, let me say, what constitutional role should be given to our traditional leaders if you think that their inclusion in governance will make things better? A few years ago, sitting in this seat here, I said something. I was talking about the power of summons. I talked about, our religious institutions and our traditional institutions and then constituted authority. I think these are the three things that impact our lives positively, yes? We say we're very religious people and so on and so forth, and we still maintain our culture and tradition. Our traditional leaders, they are the custodians of our traditions and so on and so forth, and we revere them. Now, a few years ago, I said something, and I'm going to bring it up again, because remember, one thing in life that is constant is change. So maybe since I said it, things have changed since then. My position then, I said, I reckon that if a directive or if an instruction was given by constituted authority and the same instruction was given by the religious institution and still yet the same instruction be given by the traditional institutions, my argument then was, I believe that the instruction given by traditional institutions would have the highest compliance, followed by religious institutions before constituted authority. That was the argument then. Do you think that still holds true today, or do you believe otherwise? I'd like to hear your take. Again, the reason is our connection to tradition. I'm a very, very keen follower of people who talk about, Pan-Africanism. I'm very keen on it, just like I'm a student of history, because I believe, Africa is a part of the modern world, all right? We've got Africans accomplishing great feats in different parts of the world. I don't think, I don't hold the position that Africa has come of age. I think Africa has a lot yet to give. I think we have a lot of untapped potential. And I say this because I believe we're yet to discover a pure system of governance in today's 21st century that will bring out our best potentials. And that's why I follow Pan-Africanists. Right, before I go on, let me take the first call. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kamwe.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my name is Michael. I'm calling from Nasarawa.
Mike, welcome to the program. It's been an age, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Please go ahead, Michael.
I believe that our traditional rulers, they can do a whole lot.
Okay.
It is supported by government, and this government empower them. I can also remember in those days that people are afraid of... hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Yes. I remember that there was a time that if a traditional ruler summon you understand, summon you to the community...
Yes.
You will be panicking. People prefer to run to the police than run into the hand of our traditional rulers. But today is no longer what it is. And I believe within the community, every traditional ruler, you understand, within the community, know those who are criminal among them. And that's why I think that if we can be able to empower the traditional ruler, all these things you hear bandits here and there, all this criminality would be minimized. Even if not totally eliminated, but through a traditional ruler, they are going to be minimized. Because when the traditional ruler handles some cases, you understand?
Yes.
You are going to get the best than for you to rely to government institutions to be able to handle the business. So that's why I think that it is important. But why doing so? Why government supporting them? I also think that we need also to have a law that will monitor the monitor. You
Okay.
understand? Because some of them also can abuse that their power, that the privilege of being a traditional ruler. But when we have a law that can be able to dismiss their activities,
Yes.
well, we're good to go. I think that's my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Interesting position there. Okay, sorry about that. Not a clear connection. Please call us back. Do you agree with Michael? Michael says, well, with laws checking the excesses of our traditional rulers, he believes that we can get the best out of them. That's Michael's position there. Now, taking us back down memory lane, Michael, you say, well, back in the day, if you were summoned by traditional rulers, it was a very, very serious thing. I do agree with you. Now, here's the thing. With our traditional institutions, I'm also a student of conflict resolution, alternative dispute resolution. Now, with our traditional institutions, we had alternative dispute resolutions because many of you have called up today and said one of the reasons why we are seeing an increase in insecurity, one of the reasons, I will say that again, not the reason, one of the reasons we have rising insecurity is an absence of justice. It's difficult to have peace without justice. And so I'm looking towards the old methods of alternative dispute resolution, which basically saw justice meted out. Maybe that's why we didn't have the need for prisons back in the day. Maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know. I'm just saying. But alternative dispute resolution is something that is naturally attached to our traditional institutions. So that's Michael's position there. We'd like to hear your take. Do you agree with him? Or do you think traditional rulers have nothing to offer the 21st century Nigeria? That's a big question. I'd really like to hear from young Nigerians. And the reason is this. We're talking about your future. We're talking about, that which will come into your trust tomorrow. I would like to see more, young Nigerians getting engaged in governance because, again, it might not be your turn today, but it certainly will be tomorrow. And it will serve you well to take an interest into what your grandfathers are doing with your inheritance tomorrow. Take an interest in it today. Don't wait for Gramps to, kick the bucket. Get involved now. Get involved now. All right, don't wait for him to, do his bit or her to do her bit and this, that, the other. Get involved now and start to ask questions. It is your right. Okay? It is not just your constitutional right. It is your moral right to ask and demand. What are you doing with that? Because it's going to be mine tomorrow. Let's take the next call. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Camry. Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, my name is Gabriel from Life Camp. I'm calling you.
Gabriel, it's been a while as well. Gabriel from Life Camp. Thanks for joining us.
Even though today is my first time of calling.
Okay.
I've been listening to the program for more than 8 months.
Exactly, it's been an age.
I'm calling for the first time.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Regarding the issue of inclusion of our traditional rulers, I think that will not solve any problem. That is the plain truth.
Okay.
So when I say that will not solve the problem, because when you look at, like my brother Michael said it, that
yes,
those days that we have this fear of our traditional rulers compared to these days.
Okay.
You understand? Now, when you look at the politicians, they have already hijacked the power, you understand, that has been given to the traditional rulers those days. So now, even if they give them this, this privilege of, conducting most of the, how do I even put it up, like you mentioned it. So I don't think they will bring out this, this best that we are looking for in this 21st century.
Okay.
Rather, most of them, if you look at the traditional rulers of these days now, most of them are politicians. You understand?
Okay.
And they are coming from a various, sectors. Most of them, you see, this person is retired, this person retired, this person. Now, check out what have they done. There are various ministries. That is one thing we should always look at. You understand? Rather, when they come back to traditional, how do I even say? Traditional
institutions. Yeah.
Institutions. You understand? So I don't think they will bring out their best. You understand? Rather, they will be working for the politicians, for the good of the politicians. Very much.
All right, thank you so much, Gabriel. Gabriel there with a very interesting take. He says he thinks, they won't be as impactful as we would like them to be because he says their powers have been hijacked by the politicians. And Gabriel says, if you look at the traditional institution now, it is rife with politicians. It's rife with, there are quite a number of former public servants in our traditional institutions. I don't know what kind of bearing that would have. What kind of bearing that would have on the performance of our traditional rulers. You see many of them, they served in this agency or served in this paramilitary or military organization or this, that, the other. I don't know what bearing that would have on the traditional institution as a whole. I think, their knowledge of how governance works might be a positive, might be an advantage, if I were to hazard a guess. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Joshua speaking, calling from Gwarimpa.
Joshua from Gwarimpa. Welcome to the program, Joshua. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
From my own point of view, we really think the religious faith is part of our motto as a country, Nigeria. The religion has to do more. So I think we should shift a bit, deviate, because the tradition was supposed to be a check balance to what we have as a local government chairman now. And that check and balance is not going very well. As the previous caller said, the system has been hijacked. That's the one particular case where my traditional ruler has been a youth leader for a political party and right now was promised the position and given to, without expecting to play the other way around against his paymaster. So if the religious aspects could be brought up, let's see, it will serve better because, as you said, the traditional, and nobody is going to go back to say he wants to go back to the native way of doing things, which most traditions do in these aspects. They go back to what the tradition is, native doctor and the rest of it. I don't think anybody will be happy going back to that setting. So I think the rule should be created more for the religious leaders to play, to create the check and balance.
Okay, Joshua, what would you say, to people who say, well, religion is a personal matter, let's keep it in our home? What would you tell people like that?
Sorry, come again.
What would you tell people who say religion is a personal matter?
Religion to be personal matter, it's okay if you say religion is a personal matter. That means it deviates from person to person, and also it deviates from society to society. When you say tradition, I believe the tradition has to do also with that part of faith being attached to it, which is the traditional way of doing things, which is also deviate from other person's belief. That's why you see the tradition is more like. So if the government is going back, it's like compelling everybody towards a certain religion or faith. They don't have it.
Okay, well, thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Joshua. Interesting take. So Joshua says, to look back on our traditional institutions, is much like going back to our traditional deities. I think that's what he's talking about there. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, these are all new religions to us. We formerly had our traditional deities. So he says, looking to traditional institution means going back to that as well. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Frank Eze. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Frank.
That names among the members of the House of Representatives to watch out for.
Yes.
I don't think much was attached to those names as regards to the quality of contribution, quality of bills they have sponsored, quality of arguments they've had on the floor of the House. I couldn't see much. Take, for instance, the current majority leader, Dogonwa.
Yes.
I didn't see much that you said about him as to the reason why we should look out for him again.
Okay.
The only thing I heard you say was he's been there for long, I've been there for as many years. And then again, he was one that came to the house wanting his wife and the number of children he had.
Okay, I think that... Okay, Frank, sorry, let me just... you're correct. I think, this reason why he's on their list is because there's been a tradition that is being established now that, a majority leader slides into the number one spot after the person who is in number one decides to go somewhere else. So I think the interesting thing with him is to see, because it looks like he's being groomed for the next speakership.
Groom him how? Is it because of the number of years they have spent? I mean, you should be telling us what bills he sponsored, the argument he has carried out that has impact on people.
You're absolutely correct.
Like
you're absolutely
but not because you've been there.
Yes.
Anybody could be there. There are several of them that have been there, and yet we can't hear them say anything. So is that enough reason for one to watch out for them?
Good
question.
question.
There is nothing much. Even the minority leader, the one that lost it, Kinda,
yes,
and the current minority leader. I don't know, what have they really said? I do watch them.
Yes.
I have not seen anybody that have made enough impact on me. Nobody have impressed me so much as to know the reason why they are there. Even the current speaker, what did he do? This was a man that walked into a probe panel going on and stopped it up to now. Nothing has happened. So for me, there is none of them to look out for. Going by real contribution on the floor. That is the reason why they were elected. Going back to their constituencies, have you had anything? Have you had anyone coming out to say yes?
Good questions.
This is a meaningful contribution they've made. I don't mean constituency projects that have no bearing.
No.
Buying grinding machine, 1,000 naira per give to women. I mean, real
legislative impact.
Legislative job. I mean, as in debate carried out that is impactful, that is challenging enough. So for me, there is nobody to look out for. Then talking about traditional institutions, well, if you talk about the former traditional rulers that we used to have, not today, not politicians of today that seem to have hijacked everything. Look at what happened in Gombe State. A governor wanted to install a friend of his or someone else, and the whole village went up in protest. Is that the kind of traditional rulers that will be looking up to have a say in our national issues? Well, if they want to really want to have a say, let us look at how they even ascend to those zones. How did they come up there? That will be the best way to focus on them. For me, most of them are politicians, and they will do the bidding of their political fathers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank Eze. Interesting submission there. And I do agree with you, Frank, and that's why we have this platform, okay? So that, regarding the legislators, that is, so that, we can track and see what it is they're doing. On the very first episode, we just touched very lightly on, some of the more active, legislatively active members, how many bills were sponsored. But then again, let me just draw your attention to this. Sitting here with OK, he did say it's not just a matter of how many bills a person sponsors, and this is where it plays into what Frank is saying. He says it's the quality of the bills that we also need to be looking at. So we are going to be watching these things. And again, that's why the platform is here. We can bring them down, sit down and have these discussions with them. You're pushing for this. What's it meant to do? How is it meant to affect the lives of people? And so on and so forth. Have their constituents call up and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you for that, Frank. Frank, you make very, very interesting points. Now, Frank has drawn a comparison. He says, well, the traditional institution of yesterday, maybe. Today, not so much, he says. And you're pretty much saying what, the last two callers have said, that, the system, the traditional institution has been hijacked. Hijacked. I keep hearing this word. So, again, the question is, is that the direction to go? Because going by your submissions, I would say you are leaning towards no. That is not the way to go on the basis of your argument there, saying it's been hijacked and it's this, that, the other. Politicians have hijacked, so on and so forth. It is sad because, again, back to my talk on Pan-Africanism, for you to literally, all right, for you to make any headway, for you to get progress in anything you apply yourself to, you need to know who you are. And this is why I keep asking the question, who are we? Until we answer that question, we're going to have issues. We're not just, a 21st century country. No, we're more than that. Who are we? There's a way we do things. There's a way we, acknowledge certain things. Again, I'm going to go back to the words of Professor Lumumba. He said something. He says, Africa needs to define for herself what democracy is. Africa needs to define for herself what democracy is. When you adopt the behavior of a person who behaves different from you, there are going to be challenges. And I fear this is what we've done. This is what we've done. You know, I'm going to remind you of a conversation I had with friends. This was me, a teenager growing up then. I was in one of the international schools I went to, and I got into this discussion of, you're from Nigeria, so you speak Nigerian. You know, we're kids. We don't know anything about each other. We're just meeting first time in school, far away. And I tried to explain to them that there's no such language as Nigerian. There are many languages. I speak one of the languages and so on and so forth. Very little knowledge. And then, the discussion, as usual, when you are with kids from different parts of the world at a certain age, now that discussion veered off into the area of civilization. Because the general rhetoric around the world is, the white man came and brought civilization to you. And many times I ask myself, so what was I doing before the white man brought quote unquote civilization to me? What do you think I was doing? Now, civilization to me, it's a how will I put this? It's a political word. It's a political word, because then I would argue and I'd say, look, whatever it is you call to be civilization is whatever you think it is. But I will tell you now that we were very organized. We were very organized. We had our class systems. We had our ruling systems. We were very, very organized. If you want to judge civilization by how many light bulbs you have in my town, then you're barking up the wrong tree. That's just technology. What is civilization? What is it to be civil? When you say somebody acted in a civil manner towards another person, it means you're acting with purpose, with sense, with control, with decorum, and so on and so forth. That's what civility is. So using the word civilization is what it is. But again, looking at, the Pan-African story, we were organized, but along the line, something happened. And I think the integration of the system of governance that we now toe is not complete. And I feel it's not complete because we have set aside a greater part of our core, a greater part of who we are. I think, we might have done better and we can still do better, if we try to look for, those core values that we held dear, that kept us organized, that kept us orderly, that kept us strong with all our old empires. I think it's to find out those core values and see how we can integrate them into today's story of a democracy or governance. Because again, human behavior is human behavior. It's different. We behave differently. We have a different set of values. There's some we have in common. But if we set aside ours and just adopt wholly something different, we're going to have challenges. So I think there is a need somewhere down the line. I do hear you when you say politicians have hijacked the traditional institution, but I think there is a need further down the line for the traditional institution, as we knew it, as we know it, to interface with governance going forwards. Because again, what is governance? Governance is a chosen way of a people to do certain things. It's the backbone of our societies. So if we're talking about our backbone, we can't leave out other parts of our body. We must talk about the whole body, which includes our behavior, things we revere, things we traditionally, answer to, that we recognize. Let's find a place for them in, today's current system. That's what it is. All right, before we sign off the program, let me just quickly take this message. Now, this one is from a Shehu. Shehu says, the excesses of the operators made it easy for the removal of these functions from the traditional rulers. It seems now we may have been hasty in removal. As I said, not everything should have been removed. Certain tasks should have been left over for their roles, and a separate budget with very high oversight should have been put in. As it is, there's any criteria to assess the current traditional institution as it is now. Thank you so much, Shehu. Right, on that note, we'll close the program for today. And that's, one of the notable things that happened in the National Assembly this week. Right, we look forward to sitting down and having this chat again next Friday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Until then, thank you so much for your attention and your contributions as well. On behalf of the entire family here at WeFM 106.3, thanks so much for sticking with us. My name is Camry, and I'm proud to call myself a Nigerian.